I'm always ready, Ryan. I'm born ready.
Welcome to another episode of It's a Long Road, the Rambo series podcast. I am your host, Ryan, and with me today we have another special guest co-host of today's episode. For those who are joining, we always have a rotating guest co-host on the show with me because I like to collaborate and have different voices with me on each episode. And today we have Sicco. Now let me get this right, Sicco. From the couple podcasts that you run a podcast called Hugging the Cactus, the Mel Gibson podcast. Obviously,
exactly.
About Mel Gibson films. Then you also run. Just wait. Let me see if I get it right. Let me see if we get it right.
All right.
And then we have the Arnold podcast, which delves into the the films of Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Mm-hmm.
And then you also do a variety of different films on the Last of the Action Heroes podcast network on the respective title, Last of the Action Heroes podcast, with other guest co-hosts from the network. What else do you do?
Well, we've got a new show coming up.
Explain.
A very exciting new show. Because one of the reasons I've done all these like one-offs, aside from the fact that I just wanted to work with all the guys on the network because they're so much fun, is because I like the action genre, but I like movies more.
Sure. And
so the next show I'm going to be producing will be called Game Changers. And it's going to be called Game Changers because we are going to be looking at action movies that actually changed the game, that actually improved action movies. And you can say, well, there's First Blood, or you could say whatever. So that's the idea behind the whole thing. And the inaugural episode is going to be about G.I. Jane.
Oh, wow.
Because back in the day, we all thought that was going to launch the female Rambo. Right? That's the name says it. You figure G.I. Jane, that's a franchise right there. So the first episode is going to be looking into that. What did they really intend with this movie? What was the ambition? Because this was a major tentpole movie. Okay. So that's a very interesting discussion.
Yeah, good tease. I look forward to hearing it. I've listened to all your shows, of course. You are part of the Last of the Action Heroes podcast network. And there are people that listen to this show that might not know that the Rambo, or It's a Long Road, the Rambo series podcast, is part of the Last of the Action Heroes podcast network, which has a variety of different podcasts on the network that delve into what Sicco was saying, different action stars like Bruce Willis, Jean-Claude Van Damme, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Mel Gibson. Who am I missing? Am I missing somebody? Of course, Stallone.
Dolph Lundgren, of course.
Dolph Lundgren,
James Bond.
James Bond. There you go. So I don't have the list in front of me. I apologize. And I put the network together for this very reason because I think it's fun to have kind of like one channel on your podcast feed where you don't have to keep worrying about downloading from 7 different. You know how you're on your podcast, you'll have 7 different, you get to have one feed that just keeps dumping you, quality and amazing, podcasts. So, that being said, I'm really excited to have you on, Sicco. This is the first time that you've been on the Rambo podcast. However, you and I on that said network is why I brought it up too, was that you and I have podcasted together already. So this is not our first.
We podcast all the time.
Well, I don't know if all the time's the right word, but we've done a few shows. We did Maverick, which has yet to be released on the network, which I'm looking forward to. Not Top Gun Maverick, the real Maverick, Mel Gibson's Maverick. Yeah,
Mel Gibson's Maverick. That's right. And we did Mad Max, and we did
1 and 2. We did Mad Max 1 and 2.
And 2,
which was the inaugural episode of the Mel Gibson podcast.
Precisely, the popping of my cherry.
Wow.
And there was the We Were Soldiers.
Right.
We did that one.
Yeah. And Southern Comfort.
We did Southern Comfort. Yes. Yeah. That was a good one.
Yeah. So I think it's everything.
We did a bunch.
Oh yeah, maybe we've done a little bit more. But yeah, check it out. Those are some of the films that we're talking about. Those are the different flavors you get on the network, which I like as well. You get stuff from Mel Gibson's Maverick to Powers Booth's Southern Comfort. So I think it's a great network. Okay. So, well, as we do, and as you know, because you do listen to the show, so I appreciate your support, Sicco, listening to the show. So I don't have to guide you too much. You know how we do it, the shtick of the Rambo podcast. So we'll start with first. What is, if any, now, let me just preface this. Don't just be nice, okay? Be nice when applicable.
I'm always nice,
okay.
Ryan. As I slide the knife in.
Yeah. No, what I mean is, I want you to be honest. But remember, This is a fan podcast of the Rambo franchise. However, don't placate the audience. Always be honest, because we know we're dealing with Rambo 3, and we're gonna have some fun with it, of course. But that being said, what is your fandom regarding overall the Rambo franchise? Like, just overall, what's your general feelings or fandom of the...
Overall, I think First Blood is brilliant. I think it's one of the best movies ever made. I think it's Stallone's best film, by far.
A lot of people, there's a lot of fans.
I think it's his best acting by far, because, you tend to equate the Rocky character with Stallone himself, because he wrote it. And there's such a significant part of his persona wrapped up into Rocky. But First Blood is something outside of his wheelhouse, because he was never in the military. He's not traumatized by war. He was never in a survival situation. This is actual acting he does. So I really enjoyed the Rambo character. I think David Morrell wrote an exceptional novel. So I absolutely love First Blood. I was at the impressionable age when the Rambos were at their forefront, which is like, First Blood 2, Rambo 3. So specifically Rambo 3, I think it's the movie I looked forward to the most in my life.
Oh, wow. Okay, there you go.
I had like the poster, because the posters came out first before the movie came out, and there was
we're about the same age, so I remember those movie posters. How exciting the movie posters were! Absolutely, yeah.
I had the one with the horse, where he's grabbing the sheepskin to play that game, and I had it. It was right across from my bed, and it was huge because I'm a big horseman. I love horses, and Stallone is a great equestrian. So I had high expectations, and that's actually one of the scenes that's really, really well done in this film. This is an exceptional professional movie. It looks great. Whether I enjoy it is a second.
Well, sure.
Whether I enjoy it is another thing.
Fair enough. Okay. Well, I mean, there's two ways of looking at it. Did you enjoy it when it came out? I mean, you're a little bit younger back in the day. Of course, in 1988, I assume you're younger than you are in 2023. Did you enjoy Rambo 3 when you saw it? Was it an enjoyable experience, or did you truly leave the theater experience just angry at the franchise? I'm not trying to lead the witness, sir, but I'm just curious what your feelings were at the time. No,
I wasn't angry. I was confused in the same way I was confused when I left The Phantom Menace.
Sure, fair.
Yeah. You watched Star Wars, the original trilogy, and then the prequels came out, and you watched The Phantom Menace, and after leaving The Phantom Menace, you'd think, well, that was a great Star Wars movie, I guess. It's just not what I was expecting.
Fair, okay.
It's off. There's something off here. And that's something that strikes me about Rambo 3. It's not consistent with First Blood. It's certainly not consistent with First Blood Part 2. It's its own movie, which is fine. It's a good action movie.
I think that's where the films go.
It makes no sense to me.
After First Blood, in some ways. I mean, that's a great point. I think unlike the Rocky franchise, where there has to be, there almost should be, and that's why people maybe didn't like Rocky 5 as much as, say, 3 and 4, is because you start to get into a bit of a mode, and when that mode changes, people get upset, or they get jarred. And I guess I'm speaking of Rambo 3 is sort of the Rambo 5 of the Rambo franchise. And when people watch Rambo 3, they get jarred a little bit, like, this has got nothing like the other ones, maybe to a degree, but as I'm rewatching Rambo 3, this is obviously just me speaking, but I'm enjoying it more than it deserves. Maybe as I get older too, I get a little bit softer. I think maybe younger Ryan, what might have been more critical of this film. I allow films now to be, I know it sounds corny and easy, but just to be fun, to have a good time. So is this First Blood? Well, of course not. I mean, I agree. Everything you said about Sly and First Blood, I actually agree with. And I never actually thought of it that way regarding, that he's truly just acting, because he's obviously not any of those things that the Rambo character is. Thus, that is acting. He's making choices. That's right. He's finding things within himself to be not Stallone, to be Rambo.
Yes.
So I totally agree with that. And you're not alone where a lot of people say First Blood is an Oscar-worthy type performance. Absolutely.
It's disgraceful that film didn't get more recognition and more critical acclaim and more awards. It was fantastic. And everybody knew it at the time. Everybody knew what an incredible, power-packed, frenetic movie this was.
And kind of
they knew it. They just purposely ignored it.
And Rocky and Rambo franchises are very similar, of course, again, with Sly's life as well, where he gets more big and bloated, so to speak, in his ego, so do the films. And that's also the sign of the 80s, his age. Rocky and First Blood were Oscar-worthy films. And as the franchises continue, they're moneymakers, and it's a business, and they're doing well at the box office, and they're fun to watch. Sure. But of course, they never relive no Rocky film was going to be the first Rocky, and no Rambo film was going to be First Blood. So, but that being said, what are your feelings today of Rambo 3? Are you more forgiving, or are you, I would say more angry is not the right word. I'm not using that because it's Sicco. I'm just saying, or are you more vitriol against I don't mean angry, because I know you're not an angry person, but are you more critical of the film, or are you more forgiving of the film as time goes on, as you go on? Are you the same?
I'm sort of the same, in the sense that I appreciate this is peak Stallone in the greatest shape of his life, in a pivotal moment in his career.
Is this the biggest he's ever been? Like, as far as thickness? Because I noticed he's bigger in Rambo 3 than he even was. He was cut in Rambo 2, but in this film,
he's in absolutely fantastic shape. I mean, he worked with Franco Colombo again, and he was really powerful. And don't forget, this was fueled by the divorce. I mean, when you're in divorce, you work out to deal with your issues, and so. He carried a lot of anger and resentment and annoyance, and it's because his personal life was a complete and utter failure. So you can tell that he sort of carried that into this movie.
Okay, fair. Okay, good insight. Okay, so I'm not blowing smoke up your ass because you don't need that. Sicco does not need an ego boost. If anything, you need an ego check.
I'm married. I have a wife who does that.
No, I'm about to ask you a question because I trust your knowledge. You're pretty knowledgeable guys, what I'm getting at. But without getting too, because I also know you like to get really deep with history, so the Rambo fans aren't smart like you, okay, Sicco, so you gotta be easy with us. But with your knowledge of the Afghan-Russian, what is your knowledge of the Afghan-Russian conflict at this time? Can you actually speak to me in layman terms? Because I sort of know it, but I admit. So what was going on during the timing of this film when it was made? What was the message Sly was trying to give? And what was the actual conflict going on?
Yeah, one of the reasons this movie didn't do what they wanted it to do is because at that point the Russians were already retreating. They were already on their way out. There's an incredibly well-made Russian movie called Ninth Company that I recommend everybody watch because it's really about a battalion holding on a hill, and it's a lot like the current movie that's out called The Outpost. It's almost the same. It's basically a battalion fighting to the death to stay alive, and it really shows like what day-to-day life for the average Russian soldier was. In essence, Afghanistan was the Vietnam of the Russian army.
Okay, fair enough.
The Soviet army. Yeah, the Soviets tried to occupy it.
What was the reason for wanting to occupy it? Like, had they gotten their quote-unquote way? What was their goal?
For the same reasons that NATO occupied it, to get their hands on resources.
Is that all it was? Was the resources of the land?
Of course it is. And, sphere of influence and, the usual. It's the same. The war is always about pretty much about the same things. And it's always about...
So, now the Taliban as an organization, were they, quote unquote, I keep saying quote unquote, let me start again. Were the Taliban around at this time?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, not as the Taliban, but as jihadis. Yes.
Did they what was the change in their doctrine or behavior? Why did they become...
Nothing. They've been the same since the Middle Ages.
Okay, so...
These are just religious soldiers fighting for Allah.
Okay, so what was the U.S.'s... What did the U.S. do or anything about this conflict? What was our interest? Did we want a winner?
In Afghanistan at that point, in the 80s, they were financing Mujahideen, which is the rebel group that was fighting against the Russians, basically the insurrection. And they were basically financing the tribes that have been around forever because the British fought them. Even the Greeks in the antique era fought them. It's the same people.
Okay.
It's really the same people. They've been at war with anybody who would fight them throughout their history.
Okay. And
this is the most warlike race on the planet, basically.
Okay. So that's why they're a tough opponent.
Yes. Much like Vietnam. They've been at war with it. They're scrappy.
Well, Trautman in the previous scenes, if you remember, Trautman says to the Russian officer, we had our Vietnam. Trautman does make that comparison that this is their Vietnam. So the comparison is actually made in the film.
And that's one of the things that's, I think Stallone purposely interjected because he wanted to put Rambo in the, basically in the corner of the Viet Cong, because the Mujahideen are the Viet Cong of the situation. Okay. Right? They don't have tanks. They don't have helicopters. They don't have artillery. They don't have air power. They just have horses.
Now,
they're the insurrection.
Last question on this. I wouldn't want to get too deep, and this is a big one, so just give me the layman terms, cold notes.
Ooh.
So why did the 9/11, was that the Taliban? Was that an attack by the Taliban officially?
No, that was officially that was Al-Qaeda, and the guy who perpetrated that, masterminded that, was rumored to be hiding in Afghanistan, supported by the Taliban. Okay, which of course was a lie.
Okay, well, yeah, we won't get into that.
He was never in Afghanistan, but they said he's in the caves. That was what the intel told them. But everything in 2002 that came out of that administration was a blatant lie. Okay,
fair enough. That's what I figured. Okay, all right. So, because I always make the joke on the podcast, which is just a silly joke, that Rocky stopped the Cold War in Rocky IV, and Rambo...
He did. He won the Cold War.
And then Rambo helped the Taliban.
Because I could change, and you can change, and everybody can change.
It's probably the worst part of the film, that speech. Okay. It's pretty bad. Okay, so great. That's great. I appreciate the insight. I'm sure I'm not the only person who listens to this podcast who maybe not quite knew the conflict that was going on and the real world timing. So you're saying the Russians were losing at this time in real time. So when the film was released, it's kind of
they were having their asses handed to them.
Oh, I see. So the message in the film was kind of like, okay, well, the Russians aren't that tough.
What they're showing in the movie, that would have been like maybe 1983, 1984, when they were at their peak with all their tank divisions, when all their helicopters were still around. And it wasn't like that in 1988 anymore. I mean, the Brezhnev regime was over. Andropov had basically taken over the Soviet Union at that point. Well, it's just
okay. So that's
they were economically in the dumps, and they couldn't finance that war anymore.
So it's too bad that's interesting how, I never knew the timeline of that. So, fair enough. So this is just an alternate universe. So we just can pretend this is an alternate universe where Russia isn't where they were in the real world.
You should look at Rambo and the franchise as an alternate universe anyway, because First Blood does not connect well to First Blood Part 2. I'm sure you covered that in the last season. It's two completely different Rambos, really.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Just like the Rambo we see in Vietnam in First Blood 2 is different from the Rambo we now see. And it's not because he had a growth as a person, but because he underwent a major character change. He's just different.
Got a haircut. The haircut.
Oh, yeah.
The hair, I always said that Rambo Part 5 would have been more loved by fans if you had longer hair. I'm telling you right now. Okay.
That must have been it.
I think it's the hair. I think that's all it is. Okay, so great insight, great background. What was the next question I was going to have? I think that's all I asked my co-host, like what your overall feeling on the franchise is, and then of course the film that we're on. So we're going to roll right into it. The last scene that we had was, did you remember the last scene? Do you want to see it again? Do you remember?
Yes.
Okay, great. All right, so we're now back at the Russian base. And the officer is about to look in on Trautman in prison. So he's looking through. Now it's just a quick scene there, but I think you said it before we started recording, or maybe you said it during this recording, because we were chit-chatting.
Did I?
Well, no, I'm getting to what you might have said. Just wait. Let me finish my thought. So you mentioned, I think you did mention that this is a well-filmed film. Like just a sequence there of the Russian officer looking through the, I guess the little window into the prison cell that Troutman's in, and Troutman's got his back to the door, and it's the way the natural light comes into the cell, and him smoking the cigarette outside the door. Just all that quick little scene there. It looks like a really well filmed film.
Minutopname with Ryan.
The wife's. Oh, the real boss is talking to Sicco.
So.
Sorry. Is she mad at you for the emergency recording?
Yes, she's mad at me.
Oh, okay. Yeah, well, we should say
okay.
Sicco was called in last minute. My guest co-host had to drop out at the last minute, so Sicco came in. He's coming in, guys. He's coming in last minute.
Yes.
No notes.
Listeners, please explain to my wife that this is a last minute thing and that I didn't plan this, and I don't want my marriage to end in death by podcast.
Well, you don't want your marriage to be over because of Rambo 3. That would be a horrible, horrible way to go. Is she okay? Are you going to be okay to keep going, or you got to go?
No.
All right, you're in charge.
Keep going.
You're in charge of your marriage.
Who do you think wears the pants around this place?
Well, you probably not my marriage. Okay, all right. No, I'm just joking.
I'm the breadwinner around here.
Well, there you go. Okay, so I was just saying that little sequence, and again, if you're not watching this show on YouTube, I recommend it, or at least even going back and seeing some of the scenes that we're talking about on YouTube, because you get to see what it is we're talking about a little bit better, of course. But if you know the film very well, then I guess you get to see it in your mind, or your theater of the mind, so to speak. But yeah, I just like this film is actually filmed well. It does look nice. The budget's high, we know that, and it doesn't look bad, which actually helps the film too when it just looks good.
Yeah, but the cinematography is incredible. It's so well done.
And right now go ahead.
I'm so happy I saw this originally in the theaters.
I did too, by the way.
It looked fantastic.
I was 13 when this film came out, so I was at that perfect, that young teenager age, action film age. I loved the film when it came out. I remember loving this film. I was at that perfect. Not quite old enough to care is the right word, or be wrapped up in continuity of character development, or to me, it was an action film with a Rambo character, and I just loved it. As a 13-year-old boy, it was, so the first impression I had, I guess in many ways just stuck with me through the years, even though I've heard critics, and fans alike kind of berate this film, because when the fourth Rambo film came out, a lot of people were like, "Oh, it's back! We're back! Rambo's back!" And I'm like, "I guess," but I never thought Rambo went away. I guess I always thought this was a great action film, and Rambo does a lot of killing in this film too. And I don't know. I
agree.
Yeah, I don't know. I got my issues with Rambo. The fourth
I agree,
one.
But I watched First Blood 2 7 times in the movies.
Oh wow! Okay,
7 times.
I was too young when that came up.
I watched this one once in the movies. That's it. So. That should.
Again, you're a little bit older than me, not by much, but in teenage.
I was 12 when First Blood 2 came out.
Right, so there you go. So when this came out, how old were you?
15.
Yeah, okay, you're only a couple years older, but still, 13 to 15 is, in teenage years, is like 20 years in adult years, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So we got some 4 jets flying over to indicate, they keep showing just how busy the military activity is in the area. You got these jets flying over and just, it's a war zone.
French Mirages instead of, because the Israeli Air Force, this is the Israeli Air Force, flies amongst other things with Mirage, and they sort of look like MiGs.
There you go.
Sort of.
Look at this guy coming in hot with no notes, nothing. He just, boy, Sicco, you should do a podcast.
Good eye.
To the north there are many caves. We will traverse through them. It will be safer. We go.
So, I love it.
Look at this. Yeah. Look at how beautiful this is.
Well, before we get to that, I just love how his guide, Rambo's guide, and I forget his name. I apologize. I should just Google it really quickly. I always forget it's like Husan or Mufasa or what's it called again? Do you remember? You remember his name? Let me just get it real quick.
Oh, you mean the actor?
No, not the actor, just the character.
You mean the character?
Yeah, because I keep calling him Husan or something, but I know it's not that. Let's see here.
Musa Ghani.
Masood. Is it Masood?
No, Masood is the leader of the Mujahideen.
Oh, that's right.
Musa Ghani is his guide.
Oh, Musa. Sorry, Musa. Sorry, my bad.
Musa Ghani.
Sorry. There's Musa and Masood. I do apologize.
There's a minor difference.
Yes, there is a little bit of difference. It's like Ryan and Brian. Okay, so yeah, Musa. Okay, played by Sasson Gabe. Anyways, he's
Israeli actor.
Yeah, you know what's funny?
I see him in a ton of stuff.
Okay, great. And I said it in the last episode where I think my memory of him was I didn't like the character. I think that's the 13-year-old Ryan speaking. And now that I'm older, of course, I'm like, oh, you know what? He's actually doing a great job as the side character, as the guide. I think he's acting it very well.
He's a foil.
He's a great foil.
He doesn't take Rambo seriously.
Well, he does, but he did it at first, and he starts to see slowly that, okay, this guy's business, and maybe he's as good as he says he is, but he's skeptical.
Maybe you should just think about this all over again.
Well, because this is his land. These are his people. He recognizes, he's very aware of the dangers of the world around him. Let me just say right now, I'm just looking at IMDb when I looked up the character's name. Metascore 36%. That's ridiculous. There's no way this film is a 36 out of 100 film. Like,
don't look up these statistics. They make no sense.
Yeah, I mean,
they never do.
You should always rate films within the genre and what their goal is. If you're watching Rambo 3, you're watching an action film, and did you have fun? There's no way that 36% of the audience left this, or you could say, 64% of the audience left this film going, it was a horrible film. I hate it every minute. Okay. So what I love too is Musa says to Rocky. Musa says to Rambo.
To John,
thank you. Musa says to John, let's take the caves, safer through the caves. It reminded me of the Lord of the Rings. Remember? They were traveling and they had...
I was thinking the exact same thing. All
right. It's not just me. It's like, okay. They go through the mines of Moria. So here we are. Rambo, Musa are in the mines of Moria. Now you're talking about the set. Is that a set piece or is that a cave? Like,
no, that's an actual cave.
Okay, I was going to say.
That's natural light. That's why I'm saying this is so well shot, and these locations are so beautiful. It's amazing. And here's the thing: they shot this in Israel, and it's supposed to look like Afghanistan because at that point, Afghanistan was really mythical to us.
Okay. Yeah, great. Right? No, I like it. It does look great here. So we got the horses in these caves, and I gotta imagine these caves, though they're natural, there's no way they're long and big enough to take the horses. But anyways, it's a movie, I know, but it's just fine. We'll take the caves.
Well,
do they have caves like that?
Yes, they have. They sent in the 10th Mountain Division specifically to go into those caves.
Oh man, look at you. Yeah, maybe you should do this.
The mountainous region. Yeah. Yeah, that's one of my regrets that I could never visit Afghanistan. I would have in the 90s.
You don't want to go there now?
I couldn't get across the border because even then it was troublesome. I went to Pakistan though.
Oh wow.
I did step foot in Afghanistan, but I couldn't get a guide, and it was just too cumbersome and problematic and expensive, and there was no way to get out because I couldn't fly out of Kabul to go home. I had to go back to Pakistan, so there was no choice. But I really would have loved to have traveled Afghanistan.
This cave leads us to the Valley of Five Lions. In ancient days, the Afghan king was asked to send 500 of his warriors into battle. He sent only 5. His greatest 5. And they won. He said it's better to send 5 lions than 500 sheep. What do you think of this?
I think the king was lucky.
Lucky, huh?
How much longer to the village?
So I love this, Musa's...
Are we there yet?
Yeah, they just started. They're 20 feet in the cave. How much further do we have to go? I have to keep listening to your stories of your people. But, earlier we got the prayer story, right? We love that, the prayer. And then we get more of this, more accounts here, the 5 lions instead of 500 sheep. Now, look, to be fair, it is a great story, but to be fair, you got 500 sheep charging at you down the hill, you're going to get trampled pretty good. I'm not going to lie. 500 is a lot of meat charging down.
Depends on how armed those 5 guys are, though.
Well, he also says the king sent 5 soldiers and they won the war. But yeah, but what was it, one village of 10 people? We never get the numbers of the enemy,
Well, he's a hustler, so he's probably full of shit anyway.
Okay. So Musa, I know, it's a great story, and it's probably a real story. A better podcast would have Googled this story, but, I'm not a good podcast, so I'm sure it's a real story somewhere, the 5 lines.
Had I known this scene would have been covered, I would have...
Had I known that I'm doing this movie, I would be better prepared,
About 2 hours.
Right.
So we've got 2 hours to go. Okay. Again, another shot of this base. So I asked the question in a previous episode, did the Russians build this base, or was this structure here already?
No, of course they didn't. And the British probably occupied it before them.
There you go.
The British Empire was in Afghanistan, and they fought a war with these same people.
It's actually not
probably in the same fortresses.
Let's go back and look at that shot, and we'll pause it when it goes over.
About 2 hours.
Now watch this shot here. Okay, we get a good right here. Now it's not. I guess it's fairly big, but I love how they just. Of course, it's a movie, but they've just packed the space full of activity. There's just look at it. You got 3 vehicles coming into the base. You've got more parked under some canopies. You've got some tents out to the right there. You got the helicopter flying over top. It just shows you the bustling of activity. This is like peak wartime, right? This base is packed with people, vehicles, and it's almost overpacked. There's no way this base facilitates all of the stuff. But
forward staging area, huh?
Yeah, it's too much going on here, and there's no there's no fuel station here. So where did they get their fuel from? I wonder.
Maybe it's underground.
But again, I'm not nitpicking so much as I do find this kind of, as you get older, you realize.
One of the things that is like, okay, so what province is this in? Is this
Peshawar? Peshawar? What did they say? Peshawar?
Yeah, Helmand province. What province is this?
Well, if I remember, I can't remember the name of it. It's like it was start with a P. Was it Peshawar? Was the name or something? Province or something like that?
Okay.
Where in my sector are the missiles being delivered?
I don't know.
Okay, so we talked about this where this Russian. This guy was what was this guy's name?
Mark de Jonge.
Okay, so this is
You mean the actual Russian? What the name of the character?
It was Zyson.
Or do you mean the actor?
Zyson was the name of the officer. Zyson.
Yeah, Colonel Zyson, doesn't sound very Russian.
No, it is
played by the late great Mark de Jonge.
What was he in?
He was in a ton of stuff, but mostly European.
Sure, fair enough.
He's French, and he had a Russian wife. And that gave him the ability to at least sound Russian.
And he sounds great. He sounds great in this film.
He's more believable than any Russian actors.
Oh, okay.
In the sense that than any of the actors you see in movies where you fight the Russians, because you can actually speak Russian. Most actors can't.
He hams it up.
Colonel Potofsky certainly couldn't speak Russian.
Right, that's right.
Right?
No, he hams up just nicely, meaning, like, he sounds Russian. He's the bad guy. But
he feels menacing
but quite.
On the other hand,
James Bond. He's like a James Bond villain. Like it's just hammy enough to be the villain, but it's not too over the top.
Mm-hmm.
But I wanted to say though, he keeps telling or asking Troutman. Now Troutman actually is telling the truth. There is no missiles. That was not the purpose of this mission. Him getting caught has nothing to do with Americans transferring missiles in the area. So Troutman is telling the truth. There is no missiles. But this Zyson character is set on getting this information out of Troutman. Why is Zyson so set on the missiles? He's
part of the Soviet regime. And they expect results. They expect the results they want to hear. The KGB has probably told them, look, there's arms dealing taking place. Those missiles are coming in your sector. You better produce something or else. And if he doesn't produce, then he loses his command, gets sent to a gulag. His family is sent to a gulag. They all disappear. They lose their standing. Life is over. Okay. So it doesn't really matter what reality has to do with the situation. He just has to produce something to placate his superiors, because that was what Russia was all about. They weren't about reality. They were about enforcing their own reality on the situation.
All right, fair enough. I like it. That makes sense because he's dead set on getting this missile information out of Troutman.
Yeah.
And
Long story short, communism is stupid.
Oh, how dare you?
You're a liar. Where?
The great Randy Rainey.
So now, Sicco's speaking about the big Russian dude that our previous co-host...
Famous powerlifter.
Okay, so Sean from the A&B show, who guest hosted on the last podcast episode, he got a real chuckle out of this big guy. So who is he?
That's Randy Rainey.
So what's he famous for?
Well, he's a famous powerlifter and
he's a big
strongman.
boy. He's a big boy.
Yes, but he was a famous competitive powerlifter. He's also in The Running Man.
Oh.
Yeah, you see, that's the guy who lifts the bike.
Oh, I haven't seen that movie in a while. It's been a spell, as they say, since I've seen The Running Man.
Well,
have you covered that yet on the Arnold podcast with Doug?
We are going to next coming season.
Yeah, based on the great Stephen King short story. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. So
I'm hoping to get Craig for that.
Well, you
he's
should.
A movie book kind of guy.
Yeah, he loves to compare the books with the films. So this Randy Rainey playing the big Russian dude. His name is Kurov. That's a good Russian sounding name. So now he's lifting. We should say for our listeners, of course. So Troutman's, of course, being interrogated and tortured. He's hanging. So they're hanging Troutman now with his arms. They're pulling like on a pulley system. They're pulling him up in the air with the gravity, pulling his body down as his body gets pulled up by his sockets. And that's a pretty good little stunt work there by Richard Crenna. That's him being lifted up there for a second.
That's actually him?
Let's just
so he has like a safety harness to
go back. Let's
stop his sockets from being pulled out.
It'll be interesting. Let's go back. You'll see. I paused it just for a second there, but yeah, that is his face. There's no CGI face placement back in '88. So let's look.
Yeah, but he has a nice safety harness on, and he's just hanging there suspended because there's no way he's going to be doing that for 30 takes.
No, not 30. Maybe it's just the one take. Maybe they got the one take. So here it is. You see. So here he is right here. That's him. See, and then right. Oh boy!
That's a double because you can't.
No,
see
I had him in the light right there. Oh.
Okay.
Let me just pause it.
You're a liar.
It is in the shadows for a bit, but his face does come to light, right? See if I can pause it. It's so hard to pause. It was right. Come on.
Just use the 10 seconds, man.
Right there.
There you go.
There he is.
Yeah, sure. I guess that's him. Sure.
So
I'll give that to Richard.
Yeah.
Rest in peace, Richard. You were awesome.
He's probably holding on as well, but yeah, that's him that's Richard Crenna up in the air there. Good for him.
It's like two of those guys in that scene are dead.
Is Randy Rainey?
Mark the Younger is not around anymore as well.
Oh, okay.
He didn't live back. He died in the 90s.
Is Randy still alive?
Not sure. Probably.
His heart didn't explode yet?
You never know with these guys.
No, it doesn't say. I'm not saying you're wrong, but Randy Rainey on IMDb is only credited. He was in Over the Top with Stallone.
Oh, sure.
He was Mad Dog.
Mad Dog. He was Mad Dog. That's how Stallone knew him. Right, that makes sense.
Yeah, and then he got. You know what? Say what you want about Slyhead, because I know you do. Say what you want about. What's that?
He's loyal.
Yeah.
When he likes a guy, he hangs out with him for a couple of years.
Yeah, and that's great. And I think that's actually kind of cool. Like, if you go through the Sly films, I only discovered this by doing the Rocky and Rambo podcast, is that you start to realize some of the recurring actors and characters and behind the scenes.
He's still around, by the way. He's a personal trainer now.
Oh, good for him. His heart's still going. Good. I get a little bit worried about some of these guys with their hearts and stuff. So. Yeah,
powerlifters are more athletic and healthy, but the strong men, nah, not so much.
Where? All right, sir.
Oh yeah, definitely. We could have kept going. That was definitely.
I knew you were lying.
I knew you were lying. Here we go. Where are they?
Now, where are the missiles located?
Close.
How close?
In your ass.
In reality, a trained operative like this would never
Tried
do
my
that.
patience long enough.
Okay, so say that again.
Well, in reality, Troutman is a special forces guy. He's a trained operative.
He's a full bird colonel. He's high up there.
And he trained people to deal with situations like these. And the deal with this is you hold on for as long as possible by not providing information. So he would just, use the attention he just got by just giving him a bullshit. Right? Because he could have subverted that whole situation by saying, well, I'll give you the locations and I'll help you look, and, so he can get out of that torturous situation. So he won't die. That's your main mission, is just get another minute, get another breath of air.
This is Troutman.
Whatever you have to say.
He trained Rambo to ignore pain, to eat things that would make a Billy go puke. So he can handle this torture. He trained the best.
There's
God didn't make Rambo. Troutman didn't.
Yes, that's the alternate reality of the Rambo movies, where they train special forces to behave like non-special forces. Special forces are specialized in subterfuge. That's the whole point. So operate in the dark, not be noticed.
So telling your captor the missiles are in your butt probably isn't the best tactic?
Well, it sounds really cool. And that's the problem with this movie. It wants to be cool.
Sure.
Remember when we did Commando for the Arnold show?
Oh, yeah, we did that one together, too. Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, remember when I said, when we were talking about Commando and about what the effect of Commando was on the American movie industry, because they tend to copy what works and what's successful, that the Rambo movies changed because of Commando. Commando was a knockoff, a First Blood 2 knockoff. It was basically, hey, another studio saying, hey, we can cash in on this Rambo thing. Right. So they took Arnold, gave him a script, and made Commando, which was, it was fun. But it was actually, critically acclaimed, because people said, see, this is what you should do. You need to have the right balance between violence and comedy. You can do violence, but it has to be with funny haha. So that's what Commando did. So I remember during that, and I encourage people to listen to that episode, because we really get into it, and Ryan gets a little upset. It's so much fun.
Oh, stop it.
Remember?
Upset. I didn't get upset.
That was so great.
Upset. You make it sound like no. Jeez, you make me sound like
one of the points I made was Commando changed the Rambo movies. And this is where you see that, where you create comedy in a situation where you should have tension. This should be, the Rambo movies are serious as a heart attack, and this should be serious. Troutman should be in absolute mortal danger, but you don't feel it because he's confident enough to be quippy.
No, that's fair. It's a great argument. Look, I'm not going to tell you that you're wrong regarding the humor in Rambo 3. It is probably the thing that, just like you said, that maybe it loses points. That's the point loss system. Like, we talked about the cinematography, and it looks good, and Sly looks good, and the action beats that are in this film are actually good action beats. The action is good action. But I agree. I think had they held on to the tension that even First Blood Part 2 had, was that tension. I think if they kept this, because remember when Rambo's getting tortured in that scene, in Rambo Part 2, when he's getting electrocuted and he's holding the microphone, and that was tension. That's why when he explodes out of that sequence, it's so thrilling, because he was in danger. He was, the POW was going to get his eyes poked out with a knife, and so I agree. I think
there were stakes there.
Yes.
There aren't any stakes here.
You're right. I don't feel threatened. I don't think.
In.
Yeah, you're right. I don't think Troutman's going to get killed. I don't think he's in danger. I think he's going to get saved by Rambo. And you're right. And then there's the sequence we talked about in the previous episode where, what does this do? It turns blue. I mean, there's too much of that, and there was never that before. So Rambo 3 is the comedy. It's the comedy.
Rambo doesn't behave like Rambo.
Right.
Because in First Blood 2, he's also deadpan. Right? He's like, I always believed the mind was the best weapon. It wasn't funny what he said.
No.
It was just a conversation killer. I don't want to continue this line of questioning. I always believed the mind was the best weapon. Now you can shut up, okay? Because I'm superior to this. That's basically what he said. Just like when he's in the car with the sheriff. And it's like, is there any problem with me getting something here? Right? Yeah. That's just basically deadpan. It's like, yes, he's sort of funny, but not really. And in Rambo 3, Eddie Murphy could have played this part.
Yeah.
Because it's all about the jokes now.
And it's a sign of the times too. It's 80s, late 80s.
That's a shame.
Yeah, it is.
And
so,
Arnold ruined that.
Well, if one is if Commando was a response to Part 2, then if Rambo 3 is a response to Commando, then fair enough. Yeah, that's your chain of events. And again, don't forget, it's studio. It's not Sly or Arnold doing this per se so much as the studios and their push of what the audience are buying tickets for. And yeah, they thought
to an extent, this is also the rivalry. We are Arnold Stallone rivalry. I keep playing that up, but it's a fact. In the 80s, that was a serious thing. Oh, they said it was. They've spoken to it. It's not a mystery. Arnold and Stallone were butting heads, and they were butting heads in their own movies.
Yeah. It's a fun piece of movie history, which we'll probably never see that again. We'll never see two big stars who are peak stars kind of like publicly going at it, so to speak. It would be like DC referencing Marvel stuff in a DC movie and vice versa. But that would even be more plausible.
But that would be fun.
It would be fun, but to have two actual real actors, not fake characters doing this, if that makes sense.
Yeah, because after this, Twins comes out, and Arnold as the twin walks past a Rambo 3 poster, looks at Rambo's arms, feels his own biceps, his 23-inch Arnold biceps, and laughs and keeps walking on. Yeah. And that's Arnold getting back at Stallone again.
Sure. Oh, it's fun to watch now.
And then, of course, there's Tango and Cash. And Stallone goes, "Oh, I loved you in Conan the Barbarian," talking to some inmate who sort of looks like Arnold, you know? Right. And then he grabs him by the back of the head and rams his nose into the bars.
Right, and that's his little nod to do that.
And they keep going with that stuff.
No, it's fun. It's fun to watch, and I've said it before, I love Arnold. In many ways, I love Arnold films as much as Sly films. I've enjoyed both. When I was a teenager, these days, True Lies and Terminator 2.
And those were the days we were living in. And this was peak Stallone, in peak Stallone shape. And he was amazing. And here we got Rambo 3, and we were waiting for it to be better than the other two.
Sure.
And we got this.
Well, this is a sequence.
Troutman talking about what's up the Russians' ass.
Fair enough.
Well, thanks for that.
Here's some tension.
That would be my response.
I tried to be civil.
So he's put a gun under his chin, is what we're seeing here.
Yeah. Naval shirt.
So now we've got a sequence here. Yeah, we got a sequence here of a Russian soldier bringing in the guy that was at the shop. We mentioned this before. This guy at the shop was watching the Rambo character talk to Musa, and now he's come here to. So he's a traitor, so to speak, to his people. He's telling the
he's Pakistani.
Oh, is that what it is?
Because that was in Pakistan.
Oh, okay.
So that's a different tribe. So what does he care? Well, money.
Money, yeah, of course. He'll get paid for information. Sure, and this happens all the time.
Businessman. Good for him.
He's speaking Pashto. It's Pashto.
Yes.
So he mentions John Rambo and
language in Pakistan.
Okay.
The name John Rambo.
Oops, sorry.
Do you know it?
The name John Rambo, do you know it?
No.
And he lets on that he knows it.
He says there are plans for a rescue attempt with the help of some rebels. He also says he knows where this man is going. We will welcome him.
Like watching a cartoon.
Oh, it definitely is front up there being pulled, yeah. So what I love is that, he's right, the intel's right. There is a plan to rescue Troutman from Rambo. But what I love is there's a bit of Troutman's like, all right, Rambo's coming. There's hope. There's hope. Because he probably feels like he's going to be dead anyway. So why not the quip? That's my argument back to you is why not the quip? I'm stuck in this, I'm going to be dead anyways. Maybe they will just kill me because the torture and the starvation, all that stuff. It's kind of like, not that he wants to die, but he's not running out of this building.
I will concede. Fair play.
Yeah. So now Rambo's coming. He's quiet. Now he's quiet. He hears Rambo's coming. Now he keeps his mouth shut. Now he's buying Rambo time.
Okay.
So now the horses are coming with their, I love the horses. The horses are now carrying our two men out of the caves. They're in the open air.
Packed with blue crates, just like he has blue lights. It's a theme.
Right. It's a theme. Blue crates carrying the blue lights. And I'm 90% sure those are empty for the horses. I'm 90% sure. Like for the movie in real life. Yeah. There's nothing in them. You can just tell by the way they're being carried on the horses.
Yes, Katie, they're empty, really.
Yes, Katie, these horses have nothing on their backs. It's styrofoam.
It's the last village in the valley. About 100 men here.
There's a lot of kids here.
Yes. But they are good fighters too. I tell the leaders we want to talk.
I didn't know it was called Pashto.
I never see men look like you.
Okay, so Rambo's, trudging into the village.
Well, they will in about 2 decades.
Yeah, so he's coming to the village with about 100 men. There's children there too, and they're fighters. Of course, that's, this is speaking to the Western audiences, and it is very jarring for a Western audience to think that children fight, but this is unfortunately, war is unfortunate, but it's also more unfortunate in other countries in the world that it's common for children to fight.
There are more child soldiers now than there have ever been in history.
Even now and today in 2023.
Especially now. Ukraine, Syria. Ukrainians put their kids in the front line all the time.
The Ukrainians have been putting children in the fight?
Oh, yes.
Oh, wow. Okay, there you go. So this is also not a nod, but the film is speaking to Western audiences, of course. And they were speaking to me as a 13-year-old. I'm watching this scene. What? Kids are my age are fighting? It would have blown my mind. I'm not going to carry a weapon and fight at people. Like, only men do this. So it is showing this world to a Western audience. But I do love how Musa is telling Rambo, they've never seen a white guy before. They've never seen an American up close. So they're all staring at you. But the moment he says that, it shows the one attractive woman in the village checking out Rambo when he did you notice that? When Musa makes the reference, watch it again. He makes a reference. They never seen
he's going to get stoned for that one.
Watch this.
The whole village is going to stone her to death for that one.
There's a lot of kids here.
Yes.
Just watch that. I love the direction choice.
I tell the leaders we want to talk. I never see men look like you.
There you go.
Yeah.
Assuming that's a woman. We can't assume that.
Yeah, I shouldn't assume that. My apologies. Her face was covered and she was wearing eyeliner, but
These are Mujahideen horsemen. There are 10,000 horsemen more waiting at the border. They are waiting to get weapons. When they'll get it, they come back here to fight.
Keep waiting. Oh, I hate that kid.
All right, so
he ruined the movie.
Okay, so Sicco, you're speaking about the child who's seen Rambo. He's cleaning the weapon, and he's hopped off his rock to go see this American who's come to visit the village. Well, you got to keep in mind that not a lot happens in this village. They don't have any gaming systems or the internet or books to read. They only have weapons to clean. So this is entertainment for them, right?
Sure.
Okay, so the boys hopped off the rock to go get a closer look at the American who's come in.
Yeah, he's probably looking him over for stuff he can steal and beg from him.
Let's go to the hospital. He's the only doctor for 500 kilometers. Hey, the first medicine they get in 2 months.
So we're seeing, of course, this. They said that there's only 100 people here, but this place is set up to accommodate a lot more than 100 people. But they got
but it's for the 10,000 guys waiting for guns on the other end of the border.
Okay,
right? Yeah. What is that?
So you got a guy there missing a leg. Looks like he's missing a leg in real life. There's no CGI then.
Yeah, it looks pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we've got
this movie has great production quality.
Yeah, I mean, look, we got the amputee.
I mean,
legs.
I'm not even saying that facetiously. I mean it.
No, I know you are. I know.
It looks absolutely great.
Sicco, you've been on very good behavior this episode. You've been on very good behavior.
Thank you.
I'm proud of you.
Thank you. Well, you've been shunning me for 2 seasons,
gosh,
so now that I'm finally getting on the Rambo podcast, I better be on my best behavior.
I do try to get hosts outside of the network to spread the wealth and love of to get people on the network. We want to share the network with other listeners. That's why I get other podcasts on here. Okay, stop it. Okay, All right. Would you shunning you? Okay. Hey, we know who doesn't like me on the network. Okay. All right, so we got prosthetic legs, crutches. I love how they're all displayed like that, though. They're all spread out, hanging up, like they're almost like they're hanging on a clothesline drying. I don't know why they're all.
Yeah, this is the geriatrics department where they're fitting them like with artificial limbs and stuff.
Sure,
so
but why did they hang them like that?
Well,
why are they hanging them like that? Wouldn't you just have them in a pile somewhere? You wouldn't have to hang them.
I don't know. Maybe not so they won't get like
sand in them,
shit on them or something.
Maybe. So basically what we're getting here is we're getting a whole history geography lesson here. We're again both for the Rambo character, but also for the audience to see what
we get some nice exposition.
Exposition, that's the word. Thank you. Yes, where the audience, us and Rambo, are both equally being told this is the setup, this is how we do things, this is the hospital, this is the closest medicine. They haven't had medicine in 2 months. We have soldiers who go out to get weapons. They come back here. This is like a reset. This is like a spawning station for the soldiers.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
In real life, this would have been in the cave.
Oh, it would have been in the cave?
Okay. Yeah. Otherwise, the Russians would just blow the...
We're going to see that. We're going to see that later.
They look like toys, but they are mines.
Here we go, the toys.
We teach the children.
Okay, so Rambo looks at...
How do you fight child soldiers that way?
Yeah, so there's stuff on the table that Rambo touches. They are toy-looking things, dolls and what have you. He touches one, and now we're going to get the explanation here from Musa.
More gifts from the Soviets. They look like toys, but they are mines. We teach the children not to touch. Some learn too late.
I assume that was real? That happened?
Of course it did. But hey, they are teaching their children to fight Russians. How do you fight your enemy? Well, apparently they have a predilection for toys. We'll give them toys.
No.
What else are you going to do? Those kids will kill you.
Yeah, I know. It's war.
Those aren't children anymore. As soon as they hold an AK-47, they're an enemy.
Fair enough, yeah.
Yeah, that's what this war is. And so it's so sad. You hear the violin music playing. Oh, it's so sad for the poor Mujahideen people who are now oppressing women in their own country and you know, have a slavery system. But hey, okay.
Oh, there's another white guy here.
His name is Yuri. He's Russian.
Yuri.
Deserter?
He calls himself a defector. There are many like him. He's the one who can help the most. He knows the inside of the
screw
force.
Communism.
I think we should go now.
I love how Rambo's like still unsure about this Yuri character. He sees him like, I don't know, he's Russian.
He's killed enough Russians in First Blood 2 to know that he doesn't like them.
That's right. They both give each other the stink eye.
Uh-huh.
So now we're at the meeting of the mines here. This is all the leaders of the village. I love this village. It only has 100 people, but the council has like 30.
That's realistic.
I know. I guess if I was in the production, I would have said maybe the village has 200 people. It's just the ratio seems high. That's all. But I don't know why I'm stuck on the 100. But anyways.
Have you seen the documentary Restrepo?
Well, no, I have not. You
should, and I recommend. This is like mandatory watching. If you watch Rambo 3, you should watch that as well. Restrepo is about the American Army in, I think it was Helmand province, trying to peacekeep, trying to not just placate, but somehow help the locals, so they wouldn't take up arms against them. And you'd see like the major talking to the village elders, and there would be guys with guns there, and it would be like a really dangerous situation. And that would be a scene just like this.
Oh, nice. Okay, well, thank you for that.
A tea ceremony.
Yeah, this was a 2010 documentary, available in Canada on Apple TV. All right, thank you.
It's excellent.
So they're all talking, they're arguing. Yuri's about to talk, looks
Mine
like.
starts here at 1 meter like this, then go 2 meter like this, and like this. They have 4 towers, 4 guards. Here, 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 and here.
Where do they keep the prisoners?
Here.
If we get in there, is there another way out?
Underground, where is all the bad water. I do not know words for this place.
Okay, so that's Yuri speaking. On the ground there for our listeners, he's got rocks to make it look like the fort. Of course, a mini map model of the base that the Russians are in, and he's shown where the guards are located, the entrance into the base, and of course, Rambo's like, where do they keep the prisoners? Because I have to get my guy out of there. And if I get the guy, how do I get out? And he's like, well, you can go underground where the water is, and it's really crappy under there. And he says, I don't have the words for this. So I guess he's thinking sewer.
Well, this is a great sit rep, isn't it?
Yeah, we do this. We call them models for those who aren't military. And they're map models. So you just use what's around you: pine cones, branches, rocks, figures for for your mission, and you brief your team as to what you're going to do to go in and go out. It's like the command brief before you do your mission. Now, Yuri, the actor that plays Yuri, do you know who he is? You seem to know everyone.
No
here.
idea.
Okay. Now, it sounds like his accent is pretty legit.
He sounds Russian to me.
He sounds very Russian. Yeah, you would know that more. Why don't you tell the listeners where you're from?
Well, I'm Dutch, actually.
There you go. What country is that?
You know more about Russians than I do because you're Ukrainian by origin.
Well, I'm Ukrainian by birth, quarter blood, but I'm not a very good Ukrainian, I guess. I don't speak any of the language.
Yes, you didn't rush off to the Ukraine to defend the country. Why is that?
I know. I'm a terrible person.
Yeah,
so, his name, though, is Shabby Ben Aurora. Shabby Ben Aurora.
So basically, he's an Israeli actor.
Oh, as well? Okay.
Yes, because this is shot in Israel, so they used Israeli actors.
Okay.
Which makes perfect sense.
He means sewer.
Because a lot of Israelis are Russian.
He's looking for the word sewer. Here we go. Musa says he means sewer.
Another way out.
Underground, where is all the bad water. I do not know words for this place.
He means sewer. Where is it?
Here, outside it goes.
The sewer's
there.
right in the middle.
Guards patrol there. I do not think you go this way.
Great place for a
The way she
latrine.
goes to the minefields, I'd never expected.
This cannot be done. In there are many Spetsnaz commandos. We are only this. We have lost many men. We lose more men if we go there.
I don't need many men.
What is it you want to do?
I need 2 men to get me to the minefield and 2 to help with the escape.
If this is done, Soviet will come here like before, and more people will die.
So Rambo is interesting. He said before that he was going to go in alone. Remember? He told that to Musa. Now he's saying he does need 4 men. 2 men to get in, 2 men to get out. So now he recognizes, to Rambo's credit, as bravado as he is about things, now he's like, I do need some help. I need some men in and out. So he is trying to use just as little men as possible. He recognizes the sacrifice these guys are going to make. He's not an animal. He recognizes his ask is big, that he's still asking for their help. And of course,
he's an expert at guerrilla warfare.
Right. He also recognizes too, like, hey, the people are saying, look, if we go in there and rattle the hornet's nest, they're going to come really get us. We're going to expose ourselves here in this situation. But
yeah,
of course,
it's a hospital for crying out loud.
Unbeknownst to the village.
Probably the Russians probably know about it. They just leave it alone for obvious reasons. Like, okay, they're not doing anything there. They're not hostile. It's just a hospital. It's just women and kids and old men. Forget about it. Right. Waste of ordnance.
Right. Yeah, Russians have never bombed a hospital before, have they?
Everybody's bombed a hospital.
I know.
It has a big red cross on it. It's great for aiming.
Oh, jeez.
For help the way we wait.
Then I'll go alone.
And you will die.
And I die.
I love it. See, there you go. That's the tension we like. I like that. So Rambo's saying, look.
This is good.
Yeah. He's saying, look, I'll go alone. If you guys don't want to help me, I'm going to, it's my friend. It's my father figure. He's caught. I'm going on. I've got nothing to lose. I don't care. I'm Rambo. If you guys want to help me. Yeah. And he's like, if you want to help me, great. If not, I'll go alone. And they're like, you'll die if you go alone. It goes,
yeah, this is kind of the Western part. This feels like a Western.
Sure. Of course, the boy that we saw earlier, he's been watching this whole thing. He's just fascinated by this Rambo character.
I just threw up a little bit in my mouth.
There you go. Look at that little boy. He needs a father. I bet you his dad is dead. I bet you that gets revealed.
No, that's his dad.
Oh, is it? I can't remember.
Wait.
No.
Please don't go.
Now, who's this actor again? Remember his name?
That's Spiros Focus, I think.
That's right. He's the Afghan.
And he sort of looks like Omar Sharif. That's how
He does. That's what I mean. He looks like, what was that, Lawrence of Arabia? Wasn't that, he was in that? Or
Yeah.
No? Yeah.
In
he does
Lawrence
look like
Arabia.
him.
Exactly. He has the same mustache, and he has that nice chin, and, looks just like him.
What films was he in? So he's still alive. Some of his selected, let's see, something that our listeners might know him from. Let's see. If I know it, they would know is all I'm saying. So let's see here.
Mm-hmm.
Quick search. Who was in The Jewel of the Nile?
Yep.
You knew that, okay, because you covered that.
Yeah, I knew. I didn't. That's why I didn't say it. I was like, waiting for you to bring it up. Yeah, I covered that with Katie.
That's right. So he was in Jewel of the Nile, but the rest of his filmography is in foreign languages, and so he's been active in his career, but his last English film was basically Rambo III. So,
oh well,
he went back to his home nation of acting. So good for him. But there you go.
He probably went into TV, maybe soap opera and stuff like that.
Sorry, say again.
He probably went back into TV and did soap operas and stuff like that.
Yeah, his last acting credit was in 2018. So he's probably retired by now at this age and stage in his life. Yeah,
hope so. And you will die.
Did I die?
Did I die?
Oh, doesn't Stallone look great here?
It is great.
Wait. Please don't go.
Again, this actor here does a great job in this film.
My name is Masood.
He's very commanding.
You must not judge us before you understand why we are not ready to help. Most of the Afghan people are very strong, and we are determined not to be driven from our land. Our children die of disease, mines, and poison gas, and the women are raped and killed.
Last year in the valley of Legman, the next valley, 6,000 Afghans were killed. Pregnant women were cut with bayonets and their babies thrown into the fires. This is done so they will not have to fight the next generation of Afghans. Yet nobody sees anything or reads anything in the papers. What you see here are the Mujahideen soldiers, holy warriors.
Of course, yeah. I was just enjoying his expose here. So what are your thoughts so far there?
This is vintage Stallone.
Meaning?
He admires these people.
Oh.
And he made this movie to celebrate, what great warriors they are and their suffering. That's why he made this movie. He really wanted to make a point with this.
Sure. And this is great exposition, again, by the leader, Mossad.
He did the same thing in Rambo 4.
Right, with regard to
He wanted to call attention. He wanted to use the Rambo franchise and call attention to the conflict in Burma and how those people were treated. And, from the perspective of these missionaries in Rambo 4, you'll see in the next... Because this is a theme. This is typically Stallone.
Right.
Stallone is, in many ways, an activist.
Yeah. Yeah, and he did bring to light. We're
First
talking...
First Blood 2 was all about basically calling attention to the suffering of not just the soldiers returning, but also the men who were kept prisoner in Vietnam.
Oh, yeah, great points. Thank you. And we'll...
he has strong beliefs about that.
Yeah, and
you can't fault him for that.
No, I don't. He draws, like, I would say unlike Arnold, that's not what I mean, but like unlike Commando, let's say, there's no message in Commando, right? It's a father-daughter movie, sure, but Sly with the Rambo films, to some degree, he is bringing
as
to
you
light.
put in Commando, a very suspect father-daughter movie because, well...
Yeah,
Alisa Milano and Arnold were, well, kind of little too frolicky in that pool, weren't they?
Yeah, like I said, the behavior that...
Oh, Daddy, put me down. Put me down.
I have a daughter, and I would not do the things that Arnold did in that film with my daughter. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm going to say.
Here are the Mujahideen soldiers, holy warriors. To us, this war is a holy war. And there is no true death for the Mujahideen because we have taken our last rites and we consider ourselves dead already. To us, death for our land and God is an honor. So, my friend,
What we must do is to stop this killing of our women and children. If getting this man free, so he can return to the free world and tell what happens here is necessary, then of course we will help. Leave us now, so we may speak among ourselves and find the best way to free this man.
Thank you.
We thank you.
So very interesting here, because Rambo's like, I'll go alone, I'll fight alone, and this very wise leader is like, whoa, it's like, we understand we get it, your passion. Okay. However, our story is, we actually will help you, and we will die helping you. Us dying is not an issue, because he explains we are already dead. We've given our last rites already. We're dead soldiers as it is. Dying is not the problem for us. However, if we are to sacrifice more lives, because by freeing this top leader brings to light our plight in this land, then yeah, we'll help you get this guy out so he can I love how he says he can return to the free world. And that's very telling that these people see the outside world as the free world.
No, that's how Stallone wrote it.
Sure, and that was what I was going to ask you.
They think of their country as God's country. This is the country of Allah. This is the country that should be the country of peace. They consider themselves the chosen race.
Sure, but do they see themselves as a free people? I mean, they're under attack. Like you just heard the whole thing. Like, women are raped, killed, babies are cut out of stomachs, thrown in fires.
The godless Russians must be murdered to the last man.
Okay, but I understand this, the Americanization writing to some degree. The American is the free world, but I will argue the free world.
There was no clear understanding of what jihad was.
Right.
These were jihadis, and they're explaining it. It's like, hey, we will fight to the death to kill these infidel. Allah Akbar. That's what you're seeing here,
geez.
But you're seeing it in the romanticized American version.
Yeah.
And this man, Ahmad Shah Massoud, was an actual historical figure who actually led the Mujahideen during the Afghan war against Russia. And he was a politician in the inter years, and the Taliban took over by killing him.
So Rambo lets them speak. Okay, we'll stop there. Perfect place to stop, both in the time of recording and the sequence of events. So, Sicco, cool. How did you think you did? Your first time on the Rambo podcast? It's a long road. How did you do? How was your time here? Would you say it was good or bad?
Oh, it was great.
Okay.
The reason was I get to have the good scene, not the one that comes right after this.
Oh,
I don't have to suffer the child actor. And that makes me so grateful that you stop here.
Oh,
I
good.
feel reprieved. I feel intense relief is washing over me.
Let's see.
So yes, I enjoyed this part.
I don't have my guest co-host lined up for the next episode, so those people, those poor souls.
I will not be available.
You'll not be available. Fair enough. I understand. We'll see who will suffer through that. Okay.
The kid can act.
How dare you?
And he's annoying. And he's written in an annoying way.
Child actors? I mean, come on. They're always fantastic. What are you talking about? Okay.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
All right. Well,
this wasn't exactly Macaulay Culkin, was it?
No. They should have got him for this. He was about that right age, wasn't he? Yeah. They put a little tanny makeup on his face, Macaulay Culkin. Sure. All right. Well, again. Yeah. Okay. As we close here, Sicco, let everyone know where they can find you and what shows you are on.
Yes, all my shows. Okay, So everybody, thank you so much for suffering my, I won't say anti-Stallone, but Stallone critical point of view.
No, you were fine. You've listened to this show. You listen to me. Don't you listen to my Rocky and Rambo podcast?
No, I'm actually a big Stallone fan.
But don't you listen to my shows is what I'm getting at.
Of course I do.
Okay, well,
all of them.
Have I not been critical when critical is needed? I'm always critical when critical is needed. Absolutely. Even during this...
in much the same way that I'm critical of Mel Gibson.
Of course, you have to be. But,
so that's actually one of the shows you could catch. The new season of the Mel Gibson podcast is now unleashed. We have started with our first ever episode. not the first ever
2.
episode, but with this episode of season 2.
Yeah.
It's Bird on the Wire with Katie Geilenkirchen.
And you failed to mention it was actually filmed in my hometown as well, Victoria, British Columbia.
You should listen to the episode.
I did. You said
we
Vancouver.
Actually give you a shout out.
I know that, but I mean, it's actually Victoria as well. It was a big deal when I was a kid when that was filmed in Victoria because Mel Gibson was in town, and of course I knew who he was. Like, oh, he's here. He's somewhere near where I live. It was filmed in Vancouver as well, but it was also, I think, the motorcycle scene or the scene where they're running down the sidewalk that was filmed in Chinatown, Victoria, British Columbia.
Yes.
Yeah.
That.
Okay. But you said Vancouver, not Vancouver. I'm saying it was.
Okay.
I'm just saying there's a big difference. No, look, I'm saying there were scenes in Vancouver, but also Victoria, and then we were very excited about it.
Is the Chinatown in Vancouver or is it somewhere else?
They have Chinatowns in both.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah,
thank you.
No.
So, and then of course I recently guested on the Van Dammit podcast on Nowhere to Run, which was a lot of fun to do, and I recently unleashed Spies Like Us with Jack from Drunk Bond. We did it drunk, as is our ritual, as is our chosen way of life. So that's I think a really fun episode. Maybe I talk a little bit about boobs too much, but I was drunk, so that's my excuse.
That's fine. It was a good episode.
Yeah, and then of course in the future, somewhere in the future, whenever Ryan will get around to actually editing it, we have Red Dawn.
Red Dawn's coming. No, it's coming. It's coming. It's in the can, but it'll be out sooner than later.
It's a really fun episode. We really enjoyed watching it, and we enjoyed talking about it even more than that. And of course, Arnold will be unleashed this summer again, and Game Changers will also soon be upon us. If I can rope Virginie into doing another episode with me soon, which is, she's busy, so.
Sure. Well, you got a lot of stuff on the go.
Actors.
All these episodes that Sicco's talking about basically are found on the last of the Action Heroes Podcast Network. So again, if you're listening to the Ramble on the standalone feed or seeing this on YouTube, check out the network and all these other shows that are on the network. Literally, if you're an action film buff, there's a plethora of action film podcasts on that network. Last of the Action Heroes Podcast Network. Okay. Well, with that, now this is where I'll edit this part out. So, Sicco, you know how the show ends. I will say this episode is over, and you will say nothing is over, nothing, you just don't turn it off. You got that?
Nothing is over.
Okay, however you want to do it.
Nothing.
Well, however you want to do it.
Just don't turn it off.
Okay, well, okay, now we'll go. You ready? Okay. All right, Sicco, thank you again so much for coming on, especially coming on for short notice. You knocked it out of the park. It's almost like you were prepared, but you weren't. Can you imagine how good you would be if you were prepared? But with that, the podcast is over.
Nothing is over. Nothing. You just don't turn it off.
Awesome. All right, Sicco, thank you so much, brother. Enjoy your Super Bowl Sunday.
Yes, I get to watch